Great. Hi, thank you so much for being here. I wasn't sure how many would come to the live call. It was sort of a last minute announcement that we were going to do this. This is a pretty informal time, and the purpose of this time is just to have some face to face and see if you have any questions about Sky Scholar, since the fifth cohort of Sky Scholar is starting on March 13th. So we're just a little over 2 weeks away now. And I just wanted to give people a chance, if they wanted to really understand more about what Sky Scholar is or how it works, what we cover, what we do, what the community is like, what the program is like, what they could expect, anticipate. That's the purpose of jumping on together, is really just getting more familiar with what Sky Scholar is, so that if it's something you're considering joining in this year, then you can come from a good place with that. And yeah, I see that it's someone's already signed up, but you want to know as much as possible. I love that. Thank you. I figured there would probably be some of you here that are already committed to Sky Scholar and just want to feel the temperature of the water, and get their journey started now, or get a sense of that. So that's totally great. There's a mix of people that are here on this call. My name is Virginia Rosenberg, and I'm the founder of Sky Scholar. It started, I think, in 2019, if my memory serves. And the reason that I started Sky Scholar is because let me just spotlight really quick. There we go. I was a practicing astrologer and just doing so many readings all the time for about, I want to say, for almost 10 years. I did like 20 to 25 readings a week. That's how kind of in demand my practice was. And so I got to a place where I was like, I just can't be the one to continue doing all of this face-to-face sessions with people. And I'd like other people to be able to know how to do this, and for people to know how to do it for themselves and for others in their own community. So I developed Sky Scholar as a response to that demand and that need that I was seeing externally and also internally, and just looking for ways to continue to share the magic of what the work was, the medicine of what the work was, and also to just bring people together around this curiosity, the curiosity of intuitive astrology. Because when I was studying intuitive astrology, when I was coming up in it, one of the biggest parts in that for me that was so effective was just chatting with other people who were really into it, other people who were coming into themselves as astrologers. We would read the same books together, or just be tracking certain patterns and bounce ideas off of each other. What have you noticed about this archetype? What have you noticed about this kind of transit, et cetera? And I learned so much through kind of just masterminding with my friends, essentially, the others who were studying astrology with the same passion and curiosity that I was. Yeah, so that's how Sky Scholar was born. So I'm obviously here on this call to answer your questions. We also have Auburn here, who has been by my side with administrative support and business management for the last couple years. And yeah, so she can answer questions. Emily is here, who's attended at least one Sky Scholar cohort now. Alexandra is here, who has attended several different cohorts of Sky Scholar and other things that I've offered, and she acts as a teaching assistant as well. Let me see who else is here. So yeah, it looks like there's a mix of people who have gone through the course. There's a mix of people who have gone through the course and supported the course. and there's a mix of people who are new and curious and maybe have questions or want to get some insight. So welcome to all of you, wherever you are in that constellation. And let's just take a moment to land and arrive, since it looks like probably most of us are here now who are going to be here. And if you could just maybe separate yourself from the technology, the computer screen, bring your attention, your awareness, your energy back into your own being for a moment. Maybe take a couple deep breaths here. And just tuning into how you are, but also why you're here. What drew you to be present here today? Let yourself connect with that. Mhm. And when you're ready, you could open your eyes if your eyes are closed, or look back at the screen, and please share in the chat for now what drew you to be here and how are you. And we'll kind of use this as like a framework for what it is that we explore in our time together today. I'm going to try to keep this call to like 30 minutes, maybe 40. If there's a need to go longer, we can. I'm free, but I wanted to respect everyone's time. And I see this of here to be in the energy and absorb whatever you share will be the right thing. And I want to invite, if you have anything else to share about like your perception of the energy, or just a reflection of what you're noticing about the energy in this space, I would love to hear that. Awesome. Yeah, here to feel the vibe, considering joining in and figure out some practicalities too. Great. Here to learn more about the course and how to prepare. Awesome. Yep, find out more, hang out in the space. Excited by the energy here. Me too. The cohort is gathering. I don't know how many people we have committed right now. I'd have to look. Let me see, like at quick glance. I think it's something like around 20 people committed. Maybe more than that, but maybe like 20, 25, something around there. But once that starts to happen, once people are saying yes, and entering in, you can really like feel things starting. You can feel things, the constellation lighting up. And it's been really rejuvenating for me, actually. I had a hard winter and a deep winter. And so now that kind of the energy of the next 5 months, because it's a 5-month course, is getting going and percolating in the circle, like with the people that are saying yes to communing with each other for the next 5 months. I'm feeling so held and gratified and excited and really looking forward, because it's just magic that unfolds in Sky Scholar. And this is the fifth cohort, I think, and every time we do it, it just gets better and better, and it's always exactly what it needs to be. It's always a unique and different experience, even though the curriculum doesn't change a radical amount. So I can feel the what's starting to seed, the magic that's starting to seed is palpable, and it just feels really good to be held in that. All right, let me look back at this and see what else. people are here for. I won't be attending, but I'm here because I always feel so held in hope in these gatherings. Thank you for saying that. That's so sweet. Drawn by the language of elder wisdom, finding blocks in my own experience of how to actualize living according to values other than the dominant narrative. Yeah, I really feel you on that. Yeah, and the caps are great. Use caps anytime in the chat. Yay. Structure of live calls, great question. Should I join the first part or two parts of the course? Okay, great. Let me just take notes so that I can make sure to answer all these. Structure, calls, register for one or both. Awesome. Deepening my relationship with the planets, 100%. Yep. Connect more with the beings of the sky to better understand their lessons, their characteristics. Curious how Sky Scholar will help deepen that relationship awareness and connection. Yes, this is what I'm all about. I'm gonna copy paste this. So happy high on the foundations course and already want more. Yay, the foundations course was great. The time requirement, that's a great question. Okay. Curious just about what you do. Yep. Thank you for being here, Angharad. Angharad is another one of our teaching assistants too. This is a good question too. Do we need the foundations course? Okay, so I've kind of collected these questions. Let's start here with these questions that have been presented. And if you have other questions that come up, maybe write them down in your journal so that after I present answers to the first questions, we can all kind of do another round of questions in the chat and just go through and make sure everything is answered. All right. So Sky Scholar is an immersive 5-month course. It's 18 sessions. It's primarily led by me. I have 3 dedicated teaching assistants on deck right now. And then we also have Emily and Auburn. So it's not just me. There's a group of us that are holding the course. I do the vast majority of the lead teaching, but teaching assistants will also hold things like study groups. And one of my biggest loves about astrology is that it's a language, which means that it can be understood and interpreted in myriad different ways. So one thing I always say is there's as many ways to practice astrology as there are humans on the planet. And so that's part of what we really bring into this space is it is a collaborative endeavor. It's a collaborative learning model. We all experience the archetypes, our relationships with the planets, et cetera, in nuanced and unique ways. And we get to share about that with one another. And through that sharing of those experiences, we get to know more our own personal relationship with the planets, our own personal relationship with ourselves and our own life on Earth under the canopy of the sky. And we get to know other ways that things can be seen, viewed, experienced, interpreted. And so we really learn from the entire group that's in the course. We learn from the whole community. And there's a lot of people that are participating as support for the instruction as well. So you get the benefit of multiple teachers in addition to me, and all trained in the importance of the intuitive aspect. So we do a lot of intellectual work and intellectual learning in this course, but we really harmonize and moderate that with prioritizing intuitive development and intuitive interfacing. because in my experience, it's more important to like listen and develop a relationship with the planets, for example, as living entities, or the signs, for example, as living archetypes. And even just when you're sitting with a client, if you do this as a profession later on, it's really important to listen to what's there rather than kind of overlay a kind of an assumptive interpretation on what's happening or what you're seeing. It's like that is not what we're up to. It's not what we're interested in. We're really learning the art of listening and relating throughout this course. So the structure of the calls is the calls are usually about 2 hours. Sometimes they go a little bit longer. Sometimes it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So just so you know, sometimes you might want to build in like a little bit of a buffer time at the end. Um, and we always open the space and really give ourselves a chance to land with each other and to come into the space into a good way, to check in with our body. So we're not just like coming in cold, we sort of land in the space and enter in. And then it depends on the call. Sometimes it'll be like more lecture oriented, or sometimes it'll be more integration of the material oriented. But the biggest thing with Sky Scholar is like, for those of you who did take the foundations course, which is not required this year to be in Sky Scholar, in the future, the foundations course will be required starting for next year's round of Sky Scholar, so that everyone can come in on more of the same page. If you were in the foundations course, you'll note that the foundations course was mostly lecture with some like integrative practice sprinkled in throughout the lecture. What the benefit of Sky Scholar is that we really have a lot more space and a lot more time to embody, immerse, and integrate the material, because my objective is that this language, this lens of astrology, this practice of intuitive relating with the planets and with life becomes a part of you. I want it to absorb. I want you to be able to absorb it. So we spend a lot of time in Sky Scholar, like we don't just do homework stuff on our own. There is homework that's recommended between calls, but kind of the benefit of that is to like have some personal time by yourself to interface with the material in between calls. And then kind of on our next call, we like go over the homework and do it together live. So it's very integrative in that way. I'm a firm believer. I mean, people have told me for years I should just like make Sky Scholar like a pre-recorded course, because it would be like so much easier for me on my time and my energy. I'm a mom of 2 little kids, but I'm a firm believer that if you really want to learn, especially an intuitive healing art like this, then co-regulation is essential. And that's a big part of what we're doing here in this community, is we're co-regulating with each other and we're integrating the course material together. So I'm very invested in the success of the students. We do really everything we can to support you to like come to the calls when you can make it, or just, stay with us with the different things that we're doing. The types of homework or the types of assignments that we do are things like, for example, in the beginning of the course, we're doing an elemental study. And so the assignment might be to sit outside by a fire, to start a fire and sit outside by a fire. Or if that's not accessible to you, to have a candle and do some candle meditation for maybe 3 nights that week. And doing that in a way to attune to the element of fire, and to be able to kind of capture those essences and start to integrate an understanding of fire element, which is very foundational, just as an example, to the evolution of understanding the archetypes and the planets later on in the course. Other examples are things like you might be assigned to, for a week, observe sunrise and sunset. and make sure, or maybe make sure you go outside at sunrise, at noon, when the sun is highest in the sky, and at sunset for, maybe an entire week. You'll be in that rhythm. So these are just some examples of the things that we do together in the course. And then you'll have your own personal, direct experience in those kind of exercises, but we also come to the table together and share what our experience was like, what kind of insights we had during that experience. And my like interest, we never fully do this, but like I always wish that we just ended the course with like an encyclopedia of all of the direct embodied wisdom that everyone experienced. We always aim for that and we're somewhat successful, but that's like a big ask. Yeah, we did do that. We did do that. But not to the like extent on everything that I wanted to do. There's also things like we have articles that we read that I provide. We have like little videos that we'll watch on our own time, which will never be more than 15 minutes. So as far as the time requirement, there you want to block off maybe 2.5 hours at the most, probably more like 2 hours 15 for our live calls. And then outside of that, you can expect to spend about 1 to 2 hours on Sky Scholar material. You can always do more if you wanted. But I would say, about 3 to 4 hours a week is the recommended time commitment. So yeah, the structure of the calls, it depends. Sometimes it's lecture, it's a lot of collaborative engagement, and sometimes it's, in real time performing the homework and integrating the material. We also will sometimes do breakout groups as well, which can be led by me and the other teaching assistants. And we hear each other's voices a lot in the space, and we really get to know each other and get to know each other's charts in as much as you want to share your chart. We observe each other's charts as examples and kind of unpack and hear real lived experiences in relationship to the archetypes that we're studying. So that it's, again, not just a mental study, that it's an anthropological sort of research experiment that is ongoing. And that's, to me, that's like why I'm still an astrologer after all these years, because I'm very interested in that aspect of things. Okay, let me see. I think I have one more question I didn't answer, which was connecting with the planetary beings, better understanding their lessons and characteristics. How will Sky Scholar deepen that relationship, awareness, and connection? Totally. So the one I already mentioned of like sky gazing with the sun is an example of that. But we also recommend really sky gazing with other planets when planets are visible, depending where you are. And what time of day. But if we're focusing on a certain planet, then you can choose, for that week to locate Saturn, and just maybe Saturn's visible to you and you figure out what time of day Saturn will be visible, and you can go outside and just sit on the ground and sit with Saturn and have a conversation. Or maybe Saturn is not easily visible to you, and instead of that direct sky gazing, you're going to work more internally and more meditatively. With Saturn as an example, we do like guided embodiment journeys and visualizations that help to convey the energies of the planets and help us to build a relationship and an attunement with the planets. We also look back through previous periods of our lifetimes that we lived into that were heavily influenced by Saturn, so that we can understand the personal signature of Saturn to us and us to Saturn. So yeah, that's just an example of how we practice planetary attunement. And I think that's all of those questions. What's coming up for you as you're listening in? Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share your voice, or if you'd prefer to just ask another question or share something in the chat. Would love to see that there. I love this. Angharad says, aside from the weekly calls with Sky Scholar, we also have a community forum online that's very interactive in the community where you can be as active as you like. The energy of the collective community study is very contagious and empowering. I love that. It's so real. That's where the magic really is, in my opinion. We're here to support you and each other in deepening our skills, knowledge, and wisdom, and the application of astrology as a living, breathing part of our daily lives. Mic drop on Harad, one of our teaching assistants. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And what is the time and energy commitment? Yeah. Yeah, totally. I understand that feeling. So this comment is basically saying, I'm learning and training a lot right now and needing to work on implementing and embodying and sharing my skills. Curious if Sky Scholar might support me in that. I really enjoy being in conscious communities and feel connected to the energy, but I'm worried it's another way to distract myself from taking action, nervous how I can afford the course and be committed to too much on my plate when I need to be creating sustainable income. Relatable. Relatable at the phase that you're likely in. So I would say like think about trying to dedicate 4 hours a week to this course and notice how that feels in your body, in your nervous system. And if you're like, "Ah," then I would say maybe not right now, you know? I don't want this to feel, I want this to feel nourishing and supportive, and I want it to be nourishing and supportive to you. Um, so if there's like overwhelm that's kicking on, or um, I don't know, even like self-flagellation of some kind, like I don't want that to be a part of your experience. Like one of the things with Sky Scholar that we always end up doing is like untangling kind of academic trauma and just putting a constant reminder of like this is for our enrichment, like this is for our enjoyment, this is a blessing. Like I will bless myself with the Sky Scholar course right now. It's like that. That's the kind of like way that we want to relate here together, rather than often what comes up is like, oh my gosh, like I only listened to half of that audiobook section that was a 10-minute long section I was supposed to listen to, and I didn't get to the other 5 minutes before this lecture. Like I'm a terrible student. These things do come up. And so that's one thing I want to say is like we really like to hold this container together as like we all get to be here, and how amazing, let's let the magic unfold. And if there's real life things happening for you that are impinging upon that or impeding upon that, or you feel like I'm concerned about my stability and so I don't feel like I can get the enrichment that I really want to get from this course, and like take that into consideration. Maybe this isn't the right time. On the other side of that, there's also the thing of like we we try to support our community however we can. So I teach a lot and we have affiliates for our courses. So if you wanted a way to like earn some extra money and you really believe in the power of what it is that we do, our affiliate program is available. You can share with other people who may be interested. You can earn commissions from that as a thank you for being a part of our community and committed to this work and helping us to grow it in whatever way we need it to, or that it should be spread. And then also like astrology, in my experience, is a very viable career path or side hustle. It's a very viable way to earn additional income if that is something that you want to do, if that's something that you're interested in. The way that our Sky Scholar pathway is set up is there's Sky Scholar 1, which is starting March 13th, and that is immersive level 1 in the foundation so that you have a rock solid integration of the most important facets of astrology, whether or not you're doing it for yourself or just your family or friends, or whether you do aspire to like become a practitioner. We meet all of those in Sky Scholar. After that, there's a Sky Scholar level 2. which is really just like it's like a living mentorship. It's one of my favorite ways of exploring, but Sky Scholar is a set curriculum so that we can get those foundations nice and strong. And then Sky Scholar 2 is whoever signs up for Sky Scholar 2, you get to determine the curriculum based on your curiosity, inspiration, and interests. So when you sign up for level 2, you basically request like, these are the 8 things that I really want to look at next. Like I want to focus on eclipses and lunations. I want to focus on solar returns. I want to learn about relational astrology and synastry. I want to learn about mundane astrology and how to pick a date for a wedding. I want to learn about, it's like I want to learn locational astrology. There's so much once you get the foundations that you can explore and go into. And so that's what we overview in Sky Scholar 2, and it's not a set curriculum. It's like, you tell me what you want to learn about and I will like help open the pathway with that. And that's super fun. And then we have Sky Scholar 3, which we're starting this year. And that is more focused on that's more focused for those who want to become practitioners who want to add it in. A lot of our students are therapists or counselors or doulas, or there's a number of like, they're service professionals, they're helpers, they're healers. And so there's a number of ways that you can just weave in astrology to your practice and just have it as another tool in your toolkit. So Sky Scholar 3 is where we really get into astrology as a profession and what way you want to incorporate that into your practice, what your niche might be, and we do research projects to that end. So at the beginning of Sky Scholar 3, our students choose an area of focus, and by the end of the course, they present, they do presentations on what it was they focused on and found, and we get to learn from each other in that way. So yeah, so I hope that that's helpful too, to kind of like illustrate the pathway of this and how it could be supportive for you if you're wondering, and is this just dabbling in learning, or is this like practical application? I can like bring this into my career. It's kind of your choice. Like it's taken years now for us to like set up this whole pathway to support you if you do want to like make it more of a professional practice. Then we're here to help you do that. Because I still have 100 people on my wait list. So if you like help read for these people, do readings for these people. All right, let me see. Oh, so there was another question about like level 2. Someone asked that, I wanted to make sure to answer that. Someone was like, what about doing level 1, or understanding if I should do level 1 and 2? First thing I would say is like, you don't have to make that choice right now. You can wait and choose later. And we will reintroduce like an early bird rate for level 2, maybe like halfway through Sky Scholar 1, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit and you like my teaching style and you resonate with the way that we practice as a community. And we want to make sure that you're a hell yes and you want to continue on and enter into the fold. So you can just wait and see, or you can be like, no, you know what? I'm planning my year and this is everything. This is calling to me. And I just know I'm meant to be an astrologer and I'm in that place of becoming in my life. And I'm just going to say yes right now. You can totally do that. We have several people already in Sky Scholar 2 right now. Okay. So I think this is a great question. I have one more question around house systems. I used to work with Cock, now with Placidus. How can we get along? I really recommend that you work with the house system that you love. If you want to stay with the house system you're familiar with, you totally can. In Sky Scholar, we present Placidus and also whole sign. So there's like flexibility, and those are the 2 house systems that we track towards most within the course. But I really don't appreciate like dogma about house systems and one being better or worse or one being right or wrong than another. So I don't feel like you'll be at a detriment if you're like, I just want to continue with the one that I know and it's not Placidus and it's not whole sign. I just want to continue with this one. I don't think you'll be at a detriment, and you're totally welcome to do that if you like. Yeah, that's what I would say. I love the way you phrase that. How can we get along? That's totally how astrologers treat it. It's like, if you like this house system, you're a terrible person. I'm like, what? Okay. Uh, um, yes, 5 months for Sky Scholar 1. So if you're doing Sky Scholar 1 and 2, it's 9 months in total for that whole thing. And then do I only refer to people who've completed all? Yes, thank you for asking that. So we have a referral network for our participating astrologers that have gone through Sky Scholar. And there's 8 participating astrologers in the referral network right now. And in order to be eligible to get into that network, you've got to go through 1 and 2 and 3. So yeah, because it's part of like a making sure that the integrity is there, like sometimes I don't know if it's just the online world or what, but sometimes people email me and they're like, I want to be a professional astrologer and I just want to take the foundations course and then like hit the ground running. And I'm just gonna like, okay. I was like, I don't really recommend studying astrology for a month and then seeing clients. Like, I don't recommend that. I don't think that that's ethical. And I'm like surprised that people are orienting in that direction. But I guess I have compassion and forgiveness because of just what the online thing is like very weird. And people think that they can like think about something for 2 weeks and be an expert, but that's not how we orient in our space. So we really like we really want to like integrate the knowledge. It's very important. And also just as a practicing astrology over the years, I've heard like, I mean, this is very delicate work. It really is. I know it may not seem that way because of pop culture and like memes, but being a practicing astrologer is like and working with clients is very delicate, serious, uh like you're a trusted figure, and yeah, there's a lot to it. And that's something also we do begin to talk about in Sky Scholar 1, and we talk about a lot in Sky Scholar 2 is consulting technique and like things to be aware of, things to avoid. We talk about ethics in our group, and we hear a lot from each other in our own lived experiences, and it's so valuable to get that insight. All right. Yeah, it's extremely intimate work. It really is. Anything else? I'd love to hear your voice. I see I can commit to 4 hours, but I work on call 24/7, have a lot of free time and blocks of time, but wouldn't be able to be there weekly at a specific time. No telling, really. Yeah, I hear that. I think it's fine if you're not there live, as long as you feel like you can like keep up with the material. That's the most important thing, is to try to like stay with the arc of the curriculum. I just think that is the way that is most supportive to the success of your study. So the recordings are always posted 24 hours after the live call, sometimes sooner. So you'll have that, and then you'll have, 6 days at least before the next call. So I would say if you know your schedule, and if you're like, I've got enough free time to catch up on that and I can be consistent about that, that's great. And I think that you can be successful with that. And as Angharad says, the community forum is also open at all times. So if you didn't get to ask a question on a live call, or pose something on the live call, you can absolutely participate in the forum, and we will always weave you in and mention you and engage with you on our live calls, even if you're not there. Question from earlier, how many attend the calls? It really varies. I think well, I'll lead with something I'm really proud of, which is like retainment. That I don't know how many online courses you've been a part of, but like I notice it's very common that like on the first session, if it's a multi-session thing, like 75% of the people there, and by the last session, there's like 5 people left. But like in Sky Scholar, that's not the case. It's pretty much like sometimes a couple people drop off like halfway through because life will happen. But there is just a huge retainment with people who are still on the live calls continuously by the end. And I think I really owe that to the quality of our community and also just the quality of our engagement in the study together. And just as an example, 50% of the students from last Sky Scholar 1 continued on to Sky Scholar 2. So there's a very high retainment of interest. So I would say there's probably, I don't know, there might be 20 people like consistently on the live calls. That would be just like a rough estimate, depending on how the cohort is at the end, like the size of the cohort. Oh, thank you. Is intuitive astrology a school or lineage, or is it the way that you name your work? I guess it's my school and lineage. I mean, I don't claim it as like, I am the like one of intuitive astrology, whatever, but it kind of came from when I was coming up as an astrologer. I found that it was like very heavily intellectual. And when I would practice astrology and when I was kind of really opening myself to this work, it was I was spontaneously accessing what many call the Akashic records, and I was obtaining information and perceptions when I was looking at the charts and working with people that were not necessarily like something I read or learned about. It's like it wasn't coming from an intellectual space. And so for me, I realized that like my relationship to astrology was very intuitive, which is why I speak to it in that way. And that's what I want to foster. That's what we do foster in Sky Scholar is welcoming your intuitive perceptions, insights, interpretations, again, rather than like a cookbook prescriptive, well, this planet is here, so that has to mean this. It's like we learn a framework, yes, but we hold it with a lot of curiosity and reverence and inquiry, like a constant state of inquiry about the different ways that that planet may be influencing, the different ways that we can nourish it or like foster a different type of relationship with that planet, etc. So it's very much like a living lineage, I would say, that is present to the now moment, and that all the participants in Sky Scholar collaborate to forge. And also, I think it's a living lineage ancestrally too. There's a lot of guiding forces in the realms that support this work. Okay. Oh, that's a great question. The financial part of being an astrologer is something that makes me reluctant to fully become one. I live in Brazil. Maybe it's just here, but I feel spiritually related careers are not taken seriously. I think people don't value our knowledge enough. How has it been your experience with that? This is an amazing question. I never tell people at parties I'm an astrologer. Like, undoubtedly, it's just a ridiculous response every time. like as if I'm some sort of clown or there's like a party trick I'm about to do, you know? Yeah, I would say like, well, first of all, you don't have to do it as a career if you don't want to. You can just, if it's something that you feel really connected to and inspired by, it can just be service of your heart. And you can just apply it in your own life. You can just apply it with your beloved inner circle, your friends, your family, like to each their own, how it developed for me personally is like I did just start for myself and then my close friends, and then the word just spread and people started approaching me and requesting that I would give them a reading. And so it was really like I never set out to be a professional astrologer. That was definitely not like a part of my life plan in any way, shape, or form. But it was like it just happened because I was responding to the requests that were being made. And then in like my practice developed because I did it so frequently and with such like genuine care and genuine rapport for not only the people that I worked with, but the art of astrology itself. Um, that yeah, the kind of professional aspect sort of unfurled. And I think like the credibility just became apparent over time. And or like, I mean, it wasn't even apparent in the beginning, but like those who felt called to it for whatever reason, and then they received what they needed. And yeah, it just sort of took root. Um, Let me see if there is anything else. Yes, I think like totally your career might not be taken seriously by the people that you're not meant to serve. But for the people that you are here to serve, they just kind of may grow up around you or may find you. And I think to some extent, it's like our own process of does it matter if other people like think I'm serious or credible or not? Like that might be something that you have to kind of sort through on your own, And like I said, I don't tell people I'm just randomly meeting at a party or what my life's work is, because I don't anticipate that there's just a knowledge or an understanding of it at all, And to me, it's like it's sacred. So there's there's ways um to just steward and guard what's sacred to you. And I think we learn that over time. Yeah, and I love this on Hard says the beauty of the internet is we have access now to a global community. And I have clients from different parts of the world. Yeah. Hmm. It's so true. And we have a whole history of astrology teaching in Sky Scholar that I think is really important, but in that like astrology rises and falls in popularity throughout time. And I think a lot of people mistakenly believe astrology is like just a last 200 years thing. That's not the case. This particular orientation founded upon that Western astrology is founded upon, which is the practice we study in Sky Scholar, goes back to material evidence of 4,000 years. So just in the last 4,000 years, like the popularity, the credibility, et cetera, just rises and falls throughout time, mostly dependent on who is in in the holding of political and economic power. So, for example, like at the time that the Christian church really began to rise into dominance as a political and economic power, then astrology fell out of favor because there were um, elements of astrological philosophy at the time that ran counter to the doctrine and the theology of the Christian church that was in political dominance. So it's like it rises and falls out of time, but astrologers always exist, and the practice and the skill of astrology just persists. And I personally like love it when things are a little more kind of esoteric or underground, because it kind of weeds out the people that you don't need to deal with or hear from. So you can just focus on what matters and what you love about the art. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, there's a question, how can I find out more about the foundations course? We're turning that into an evergreen course that you can just do in your own pace. And we'll announce that in the next, I don't know, maybe month or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I love it. I feel the idea of not wanting to be the clown at the party. I feel like I'm sliding into the beautiful pit of woo-woo, being an acupuncturist instead of an MD, and now wanting to add in astrology to my practice. Totally. I think it's a big thing of like separating what the worldviews are of a culture that surrounds us compared to like when we go back further in time, or what we understand about the integrity of medicine and the way that we want to relate to it, you know? And like I really believe that astrology is a healing art and can be practiced that way. And yeah, no shade at those taking a path of an MD, and no shade at those taking a path of the acupuncturist. Like neither one is better or worse. And actually, our charts really speak volumes about like why we're destined for, you know, one of those paths. But yeah, absolutely. I think like for me, it's been so valuable to just connect in with the integrity of longevity and tradition in relationship with practices like this, with like acupuncture as a medicine versus maybe a more like current conventional path of medicine. Um, but yeah, there's something to me, there's something so essential about just connecting to the integrity of tradition throughout time. Yeah. Mhm. Okay, so what's the deadline to sign up for Sky Scholar? I would say there's a welcome like survey that I want to review before our first call, ideally on March 13th. So I would say like, I don't know, maybe March 10th would be like my ideal world. You're signing up. But to that end, I wanted to just reopen the early bird rate. If you were like, yeah, I definitely want to do this, then the early bird rate will be available, I think, until the morning of the 29th or through midnight. Yeah, through the morning of February 29th. So for the next couple days, if you felt into this and you're like, yeah, this is my time and I want to join in on this and this community is awesome, then please take that additional discount for the next few days. Yeah, we'd be so happy to have you. Um, let's see, is there anything I missed? Any final questions or comments? Would love to hear other voices beyond mine.
I would like to say something about the fear or overwhelm of like not knowing enough. And just to really solidify in the point that Virginia was making from the lens of intuitive astrology, we're not searching for knowledge outside of ourselves. So it's not about how many astrology, like how much astrological knowledge you have that you can bring to Sky Scholar. It's the uniqueness of this program is like a willingness to go within and a willingness to like sit with yourself and to have self-awareness and self-knowledge, or yeah, again, just willingness, not even that that needs to be the prerequisite that you like know yourself really well. Because I think even by the end of Sky Scholar, you will know yourself so much more than than you did at the beginning. But yeah, it's not like we're joking. I mean, it is the Harvard of astrology schools, but we're like bringing that academic piece in because it's academically rich, but it's not that you have to have like a lot of knowledge or even like retaining information or memorization skills, because that's actually the opposite of what it is. Um, so yeah, just like I really got this visual of like going within versus trying to manage and keep track of everything like outside of yourself. SAT score requirement. Right. Yeah, none of that.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. It's so true. Like we always say that the way that we learn in Sky Scholar is we remember what we know in our bones, that we're all astrologers. It's innate to us as human beings who are called to this work. And so that's really what we're up to throughout the course, is remembering what we know in our bones. And the other thing I would say is like if you don't know a lot, like you're actually at an advantage, because like our point and our purpose is not to know it all, you know, our our point and our purpose to some extent is to like recognize how much we don't know, so that we can be exceedingly curious and in a state of wonder and inquiry that is active at like tracking what's vital and alive, you know? So, and the last thing I want to say about that is like Sky Scholar was really designed for you at that level, that base level, you know, of like we honestly it's such a privilege, just all the time that we take in Sky Scholar to absorb and immerse ourselves in the practice of the inquiry. And that's like really what the course is designed towards, you know, is to do that together. So not to memorize facts and information, but to really, from that beginner's mind state, I see in the chat, beginner's mind, to really meet Mercury from there, meet Aries from there, meet ourselves in relationship to these signs, these symbols, these elements, so that we're not coming in with preconceived notion of A plus B equals C, you know. But we are coming in from like, what is this? What's alive? Where am I? How do I relate to this? And we have an experience and we follow that breadcrumb path.
Can I say something to that?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, like what I really love about Sky Scholar is normally when you go to school, like you learn cognitively and people kind of shove cognitive facts at you until eventually the knowledge goes deeper, so that you've embodied that, um so that you retain the knowledge, so that you use it, so that you live it, right? And actually like what we're doing in Sky Scholar is almost like we go the opposite journey. We focus on feeling and connecting to, and on having this embodied wisdom, this embodied integrity, this embodied intuition. And yeah, there is factual knowledge with that, because there's part of astrology that you can only learn through the mind. Like for instance, like the symbols, like what does the Mercury symbol like look like, and like recognizing that you have to use your head for that, right? But from that place of really knowing then comes the cognitive, and that's like the entire course is structured that way, which also has wonderful like um the wonderful side effect that it doesn't like take as long to learn, and also that it's so wonderful for people of all different learning types, because we use all different learning types. And also, even though we do have a lot of embodiment exercises that can be like tailored to your unique health status. So even if you like go and you have like your leg is broken, or you have like some sort of condition and you can't do movement in a certain way, you can really take what we're doing in Sky Scholar and you can make it fit to your health and to who you are as a person. And that's why Sky Scholar is so powerful and so beautiful. And we're so happy to be here with all of you.
Thank you. That was so helpful. I'd love to hear from Angharad, and then we can close for today.
Hi, everyone. I guess I just wanted to share the what I consider, and I've kind of said this before, but just I see astrology as a life partner, as a companion, and it's really supported me. And through the Sky Scholar program, because it's such an embodied intuitive practice and study, it's really helped me move through some significant challenges in my life over the last few years. And I know that we've all navigated them, right, since 2020 and, previously and beyond. And so just having a place where I can understand myself and have the tool and the wisdom of the sky and fellow learners and people in a community that I can come to who are having similar experiences. Their stories may be different, but just the essence of what they're experiencing. And so to me, it was just a place of like coming home and reclaiming my sense of belonging amongst a community of people who are all choosing to be here and to learn this language of the sky and to just remember who we are and see ourselves in others. And that has just been so empowering and actually really, really healing. And just rewiring that understanding about how learning should be and feeling and intuiting like how I want this to be. And so it's really your experience and our experience that creates that depth of learning and that understanding and how to move forward in our lives with that, with ourselves and others. So if you choose to be here, we would love to have you and look forward to being in community and growing and evolving with you in all the ways. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to share a really brief story as a closing that came to my mind. Because just again, as a thing, I think to help orient us to like what this is as a practice, I used to have a terrible sense of direction. Like I could not find my way around. I would like really have to rely on other people who knew where we were, where we were going, or I'd have to like make sure there was a map handy because I just had like a really hard relationship with a sense of direction. And then I lived abroad when I was 17. I was living in Tanzania at the time, and every day I went for a walk without anything to help me navigate. And so every day for months, I was just walking in this unfamiliar landscape. And by the time I returned from that experience, I had like a whole new sense of orientation where I knew north, south, east, west, left, right. I just knew where I was and how I was oriented to what was around me. It was like something about just doing those walks every day and like connecting with the terrain and connecting with the landscape and skyscape there, because the sky was just so, it was almost like the sky was so close there. Something about that like entrained me into an innate orientation. And I feel like that's what we do. That's like what this work really is, with what Anghard was saying about how it's astrology as a life partner. It's also like we have an inborn map system, and the cosmos illustrates and expresses that. And when we attune ourselves to the planets, to the elements, when we're in ceremony and creating relationship with that cosmic map, that cosmic clock that exists, we locate ourselves in relationship to that. And it's some kind of a return, to a nature that is innate to us as human beings. Well, thank you all so much for your time and your questions. Really just appreciate your interest, appreciate you being here, and hope that we'll do Sky Scholar again in the future. We always like improve it and refine it every time. Um, and yeah, I see a question about Sky Scholar all three course pricing. I don't want to answer that right now because it was what it was for this year, but I don't know if that'll change. It sort of depends on like having to look at from a whole company perspective. But I think if you email me and you're like, I know I want to do all three levels like this year and next year, I can try to get an accurate workup for you for a price on that. But yeah, thank you all for your time today and look forward to connecting regardless of if it's in Sky Scholar or a smaller workshop this year or just into the beautiful beyond. Bye for now.